Today we're making one of my absolute favorite foods, gyoza. I love homemade gyoza dumplings and I always have them ready in the freezer, mainly because they can be cooked straight from frozen. The preparation of the dumplings takes time, especially if you've never made them before, but you can make a ton of them at once and freeze them. If gyoza wrappers are easily available for cheap where you live, I'd say go with them. Because that's not my case, I'm gonna make homemade wrappers today. It's actually very simple but pretty time consuming, so that's why I would recommend getting the store-bought ones if you don't want to spend a lot of time on this. You just need 3 ingredients: flour, hot water and salt. The ratio is always 2 parts flour to 1 part water. For example, I used 300 grams of flour, 150 grams of hot water and about a teaspoon of salt. Slowly pour the hot water into the flour and stir. In the beginning it might seem like it needs more water, but trust me, it doesn't. It's probably best to dissolve the salt in the water, but I forgot to do that, so I'm just adding it now. The choice of flour isn't that important, you can use any all-purpose flour, just nothing whole grain. Knead the mixture until it's really nice and smooth, it will probably take like 8 to 10 minutes. Split the finished dough into batches, wrap it in cling film and let it rest in the fridge. Now for the main part, the filling. I usually try to keep it as simple as possible, but you can add pretty much anything you want. The bulk of the filling consists of napa cabbage and pork in about equal amounts by weight. Chop the cabbage pretty finely and don't forget to take out the core. Then salt the cabbage to draw out excess moisture. I used about a tablespoon of salt here. The other option would be to slowly saute it in a pan to evaporate the water and keep all of the flavor, but I don't really think it's worth the extra effort. Okay, now the meat. I'd normally use a meat grinder, but I can't find one part of it, so we'll have to make do with a knife today. I have a piece of pork shoulder here, but you can use pretty much any cut for this. Just mince it as fine as you can. It's been a couple minutes since we salted the cabbage, so let's squeeze the water out. You can either use a kitchen towel like I did, other options are using a potato ricer or just squeezing it in a sieve. Put the meat with the cabbage in a bowl where we'll be mixing the filling. I pretty much always use garlic and ginger. Today I also had some spring onions, so we'll use that as well. Chop it all up finely, then add everything to the bowl. I'm not weighing or measuring the ingredients here because I think it really comes down to personal preferences. And because I'm too lazy to do that. I like to add sesame oil and a splash of light soy sauce, but don't use a lot, you don't want the filling to be too wet. What I think you cannot leave out is white pepper. I know some people don't like it, but I think it's really key here. I'm also adding some black pepper and a little bit of MSG because everything's better with those two. Then just go in with your hands and start mixing everything. Really squeeze the ingredients together, almost like if you were kneading a dough. You want the meat to almost like break down and combine with the other ingredients into one mass. After mixing it for a while, cover it and let it rest in the fridge. Use starch instead of flour when rolling out the dough, it will stop the wrappers from sticking together. There are a few ways you can roll the dough out. The easiest way is with a pasta machine if you have it, but a rolling pin, which I'm using today, or even a wine bottle is fine. Roll it out really nice and thin. If the dough is sticking, just dust it with some more starch. Then cut out a round piece about 10 centimeters in diameter. If you don't have the cookie cutter, just use a bowl or a mug. Then repeat until you run out of dough. Don't forget to reuse the scraps, just press them together and roll them out again. To fold the dumplings, you just need a little bit of water, which will make the dough stick together. First, use your finger to coat the edges of the wrapper with water. Then take about a full teaspoon of filling and place it in the middle. There's a number of different ways to fold gyoza. I like to do the classic pleats starting from one side. Fold the dough over the filling in half, then start pleating from one side. You're basically just folding the wrapper onto itself and making your way all the way to the other side. Some people like to start from the middle and do 3 pleats on each side, for example, or just squeezing it together also works, it's just not as pretty. Every time you make a pleat, squeeze the dough to ensure it's sealed. You can also squeeze it all together at the end like this. Repeat this for all the dumplings. At this stage you can freeze them on a tray like this and then transfer them to a Ziploc bag once they're frozen. I'll be cooking these right away though. Non-stick is the safest option, but if you have a nicely seasoned carbon steel or cast iron pan, you can use it as well. Don't use too much oil, just barely enough to coat the pan. Slowly fry the dumplings until they form a nice crust from the bottom. At that point, pour a splash of water into the pan and immediately cover it with a lid. This might be a little messy, so try to be quick and don't burn yourself with the oil like I did. Let them steam for about 5 minutes, which is enough to cook them through. Then take off the lid and let them cook a bit more without it until most of the water is evaporated. Then serve immediately. I usually just dip the gyoza in a high quality soy sauce. I'd also recommend adding some freshly squeezed orange or grapefruit juice, it really brightens it up. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what should I make next.